Hi, guys, and welcome to another wonderful edition of The Big Shift. I've got an amazing person today. He's a top senior celebrity lawyer in many fields. He works with many celebrities, world champion boxers, and at the very height of business. He's a dear friend and a fascinating guy. I can't wait to introduce him to you. It's with great pleasure that I have Mahtab Aziz on the show. Hi, Mahtab. How are you?
Hi, Steve. Hi, Steve.
There's always a contrast in life,
Yeah,
and on this program, we talk to fascinating, exceptional people about an exceptional life.
sure.
Their unbelievable experience and the highs and lows of that.
Yeah.
Because there's always the highs and lows. I know you was really, really involved in another project for another wonderful boxer that turned out quite sad.
Yeah.
Errol. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So Errol Christie,
Errol Christie.
Errol
Yeah.
Christie, a great guy, a really nice person. And unfortunately, he died in 2017 through cancer. And prior to his death, we'd been talking, and I'd actually read his book. He'd actually written a book about how, in his early days in Coventry, he'd faced so much racism. And I hadn't read that book. I said to Errol, I said, look, this book is, very, very, it's very, very good to put into sort of film or play, because it was at times it was so funny, and it was very well put together. So we were discussing all that, and unfortunately, it couldn't happen because Errol unfortunately died of cancer. He was about 52, I think, when he died, and still relatively early. But he was a very nice man, and although he's a boxer, but he had a very sort of good personality and a nice chap. And I was due to meet him with Harold Graham. Harold Graham, another one of my clients, who is regarded as the best British boxer that never actually won a world title. Harold Graham is a very skillful boxer, and in fact, Chris Eubank and Nigel Benn didn't want to fight him in his heyday because he was that good. That's Harold Graham we're talking about. But as regards Errol Christie, yes, I think it's very sad that happened, because I'm sure he would have been proud if a film had been made of his book.
Yeah. This is a sad part of a wonderful journey,
Yeah.
and I mean, I was personally, just going back before COVID, friends of mine, in the filmmaking industry I was close to, I was invited into, we had a script and all that to the making of the film of Watson,
Right.
so that's still kind of going on. I mean, a lot has happened in the world, but
Sure.
these people, it's still a kind of a live project, and that would be another wonderful Michael Watson, of course, right? This was another one. So there's another chance we can negotiate this to, bring back, some wonderful, these unbelievable stories of great champions. All right, Okay, look, let's flick it a little bit and let's ask. Thanks for that, all the boxing stuff. I know you're so connected and committed to boxing and what's going on. So tell us, you've had a very illustrious career. I mean, some of the things you tell me are unbelievable. You save your clients absolutely, literally millions. Millions. I know this. Tell me. One of your greatest wins, if you could, one of your greatest projects that was wow, where you turned it all around.
Yeah. Well, financially, obviously, there's quite a number of cases, that I've won that I was very happy about. But I think for myself personally, I think my greatest win in court would have been there was a case where, in fact, on the opposite side, I had at that time he was one of the editors of what we call Archbold. Archbold is the Bible. Yeah, it's the Bible of barristers. They whenever they want to sort of pursue a point, they point to something in Archbold and say, blah blah blah, to the judge. So this particular case, in fact, revolved around a decision by this particular judge, who was a Crown Court judge, and I felt that he'd misinterpreted the rules and regulations and the statute at the time. I felt he misinterpreted, and the order that he'd given was, I felt, was wrong, and so I appealed it, and I went to one barrister, and he looked at it and he said, who are you up against? I said, he said, okay, like he sort of disappeared. He didn't come back again because.
Well, I'm sure he didn't. Thought, okay, thanks, but no thanks.
Then I went to another barrister, and I said to him, I said, look, this is my case. These are my arguments. I've done them myself. What do you think? And he in fact came very close to the hearing, and he said, he read it. And he said, I see who. Well, it's against so and so. I see, right? And then he also disappeared. So then I had to say this is in front of the Court of Appeal. The Court of Appeal. Everything's done. Very spick and span, very accurate. So I was there before the three judges there, the Court of Appeal, and faced with having to argue my points, you see, that I made, which I was saying that judge was the editor of this, Bible of barristers. I was saying he was wrong. So I actually won that case, and I was, I thought to myself, well, it shows there is justice, because as we know in the legal profession, judges know each other, and normally it's not that easy to ask them to go against, and particularly if it happens to be a judge that's the editor of this, great book. So I won that, and I actually presented it myself and argued it myself. The barristers felt that that it wasn't going to go anywhere, but I felt that it was. So I argued it myself and before the Court of Appeal, and I actually won that. That was the greatest satisfying result for me, because that shows that as a lawyer that I could just take up the pieces and fight a fight which other accomplished professionals didn't think I'd win. So that's probably my greatest achievement.
That's a wonderful story. And look, it's important for the viewers out there. The Archibald, let me just say, is the Archibald is a guide to the law, isn't it, really? Right, yeah. It's the referee in front of the judge and by the judge, and what is referred to of what we do or what we don't do. That's so if there's any discrepancy or any confusion, it's to the Archibald. So actually to go through that, and to unravel something that was misrepresented in there and take that all the way through is really changing legislation itself, and beating legislation itself, which is no easy thing. So well done. No, I can see how that would, because you're really up against it as as a lawyer of overcoming that. So that's a wonderful story. So for the viewers, I know there's a lot happening in the world at the moment, and I just what is your view? Because I know there's a lot of concerned people out there, and another thing, oh my God, the law, it's uncertain. What do we do? Are we safe? What's going on? What is your view on what's going on in the world and in the UK at the moment? And where do you think we're going? Have you got anything, to tell people, any comfort or what you think?
Well, I guess you're talking about the COVID-19 situation, are you?
Yes, I'm talking about the lockdowns. I'm talking about COVID. I'm talking about our freedoms. Our freedoms and our lifestyles.
Well, I think if we look around the world, and I think what we will find is that those countries that have been more successful at dealing with this are those that have acted quickly and swiftly, whereas those that actually have sort of dragged their feet a bit and locked down things as quickly have suffered. So overall, I think what's happening now is a consequence of that. Had things perhaps been done, more efficiently and more quickly, perhaps we wouldn't be in this position now. But as they say, everyone's wiser after the event. But I think looking at it initially, I mean, if you look at how the Chinese people dealt with it when they first found out, they very swiftly, dealt with it at that point. And I think it all goes down to society that if we're used to questioning authority as much as we are, sometimes that can go in the negative because we're questioning, and in the meantime, there's all this damage happening. So sometimes I think we need to realize that sometimes you have to do something for the betterment of society. You have to listen, or you have to do as the government says. But obviously, had the government done it quicker and earlier, perhaps we may well be in a better position.
Great, thank you. And look, I have to ask, devil's advocate.
Yeah.
I mean, there's loads of stuff in the broadcast media, misinformation. You are a very specialist litigation lawyer who really has his fingers on the pulse of these things, and what spin looks like, and I know you have a really good idea if things are right, or they're being window dressed or anything like that. So let me ask you, do you think there are other agendas behind this, and they're not telling us the whole truth? There's some kind of talk, or is it hot air, or more has yet to be revealed? What do you think?
Well, I think the thing is, you see, that with these sort of world events, the average Joe Blogs, unfortunately, will not know what the truth is. It's just the nature of things. If there is anything behind all this, we're not going to know about it until many years afterwards, if there is. But the level of deaths that have been happening obviously show us that there is a real problem. The number of deaths every year have been far greater since this COVID-19 happened. That's one way of looking at it, that there is a real problem out there. And whatever's causing it, or whatever's resulting in these deaths, these are things which are probably going to come out later on. World events, you can't always tell what the reality is. And it's very difficult to pursue a conspiracy theory without any evidence. There's a lot of conspiracy theories going around. First, it was the masks before, and now it's some sort of group of megalomaniacs out there, throwing this virus out. So, without evidence, it's very difficult to try and assess whether these things are true. But time always tells, and hopefully,
Yeah, time always does, and it comes out in the wash. This is my understanding of it. I mean, for me, I'm even on Sky Friday, this Friday, on a talking politics program on there. And this is part of the issue we will be talking about, because there are different approaches and there are different ways to look at this. But I'm sure we're agreed that time will tell, Mahtab, and it will reveal itself more actually for where we are, where we're going, and what it is.
Yeah, that's right. I'll have to give an example of 9/11. 9/11, when it first happened, it was truly like a terrorist action and all that. But as time went on, people realized that there were other agendas, about, and all this talk about weapons of mass destruction never actually existed, and it was all really to do with oil. So these things come out over time. So as I said, but world events, you can't just straight away tell what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. You see, and this is the problem of rebrokering, in a sense, that trust that people feel about leaders and other things, because all the stratagems have gone out there before. It's been spun, they've been lied to, they haven't been given the full truth. So it's hard for them when it really affects their lives. So there is, to rebroker
that's right.
the level of trust.
Yes.
Yeah,
and it's right.
this kind of
it's
challenging times to really buy everything that they're being told, right?
That's right. I mean, it's rather ironic, and to an extent, it's a bit funny that George Bush this week apparently said, after he'd seen everything that happened in Capitol Hill, he said, "Oh, we're living in a banana republic," he said. George Bush. He was a president when the whole world was put upside down by
Well, it was really
without
really
any
going at it.
Without any evidence. Yeah, without any evidence. But now he's accusing Trump of having a banana republic.
Yeah, one of the to put to close the circle on this, I suppose, one of the worst things I've certainly seen. In a sense, it seems to be is history repeats itself, not always in the positive ways that we would hope for. But look, listen, thanks for that, really, you know, for your knowledge on that, your cut on that. But look, what, so you've lived a incredible journey. You've, you know, you've had the privilege to work with all the time exceptional people in their field. You know, we really go deep into fascinating people here to try and give as much value as we can to the viewers. How you actually done that? There's always a contrast and different stuff in human beings and a learning, you know, in a journey. So, you know, as a lawyer at the top of your field, what would you say was the one main characteristic that certainly guided you and forged you towards your success?
Well, I think as a lawyer, it's very, very important to have the ability to listen, to actually listen to what your client wants. Because you see, a person has come to a lawyer for a reason. They come for a reason. And often what happens is that lawyers don't always listen to what their clients want completely. And what will happen is that often a lawyer may do things in a way which perhaps the customer never envisaged, but that will only come about if you haven't been able to actually address what does the client actually want, and that's very important. And of course, you've got to be able to listen to what a client wants, and then you apply your own assessment of it. Often, one thing that a lot of clients that come to me have said that they've gone to another lawyer and they haven't carried out their instructions, and as a result of which there's been a mistake, and then they'll come to me and say, can you please rectify this mistake? And that's all because those people were not listened to. Their instructions are not taken properly. So it's very, very important to listen. I mean, I know lawyers are expected to be very vocal and confident, but that comes after. You got to get the facts first before you can be robust in your representation. So it's very important to have that ability to be able to listen. And a lot of my more high-profile clients, I feel that when I listen to them, it makes them very content and happy because they feel that they've got across what they wanted to get across. And I think that's very important.
No, I get it. I do. And I'm reminded of that thing I always think about and try and apply, certainly, which is seek to be understood.
Yeah.
Seek to understand before being understood.
Yes.
This is a very powerful thing. So absolutely, I get that. Thanks for that. And look, in such a life of success, there's a lot of learning involved in any industry. So, the other side of the coin would be low points. In this great success in this journey, what's the one thing that you think would have been the hardest thing, or, the low point, or something that was difficult and maybe kept coming back?
Yeah, I think in the early days, when I first sort of came into the legal profession, a lot of non-white lawyers tended to be sort of funneled into the legal aid sector. So when I first started off, I had applied to a lot of even commercial firms, but when you send a CV with a sort of foreign-sounding name, it doesn't always get the same attention perhaps as a person who has a more sort of familiar sounding name, shall we say. And in the early days, I know that was probably those points that I found myself having to go into the criminal law, and that's exactly what had happened to my brother. My brother, who was actually older than me, he was also a solicitor, and he went into the criminal law, the legal aid area, and I found myself having to do that as well. Whereas really, I felt that I should be in civil or commercial, but that came with time. Because what happened was that the very first case that I actually represented in court happened to be a case where a Afro-Caribbean man was actually stopped by the police for doing 90 miles per hour on the Bow flyover. And that case was given to me, and I went into court, and I sort of looked at a few things, and I realized that physically would not have been possible for him to have done 90 miles an hour on the blow of fire, because I checked the map.
Yes, I find that hard. I find that hard to
That's
believe.
right.
Even if it was open, it's always rammed to the, when we go over there, right?
Yeah, that's right. So I took a little aerial photo of it, and this is sort of like a sharp turn. So where the police officers had said that my client had done over 90 miles an hour, I sort of brought them to book on that point. I said, have a look at this aerial view. Are you realistically saying that 90 miles an hour is possible on that pressure road? And that's where they got caught up. And my client won. And the next day I got a phone call from my uncle. He said, "Oh," he said, "Mahtab, how are you?" I said, "Well, congratulations." He said, I said, "What about?" He said, "You're in the papers." He said, "You're in the papers." He said, "Some young lawyer has won this case," and blah blah blah. And from that one point, I started, getting better results, because you have to think out of the box. If you're going to be exceptional, if you're going to be above the average, you have to be able to think out of the box. That's one thing I learned at an early stage. That if you're going to be a lawyer that's a bit better than the average, you have to be able to show that, and you have to be able to demonstrate that. So I got that sort of attitude at a very early stage, and I was able to, with most of my cases, I was able to come up with, using obviously the law, I was able to come up with answers and solutions that perhaps may not have been so apparent to other lawyers.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that kind of discrimination in a way, or not being valued because of certain stereotypes. Now, look, you've just touched on something really interesting there, which we could talk about in a whole other podcast. I'd love to do it at some point about the police and this discrimination, and certainly what's happening now. That's a whole new thing, which we could maybe go to another time. But look, thanks for that, really. Now, look, so, I know you've got your radio show that you do. I know that you do all the wonderful work that you still do with all your clients, at a very high level. But what is next? What clients have you got next? Any big names? And what's next for Mahtab Aziz?
Well, I think I'm having to delegate a lot of my work these days, to trainees. And I really enjoy that, having to teach other trainees, about how they can become good lawyers and all that. And that's something I enjoy. In fact, most of the trainees I've had, they still keep in contact with me after many years. They still contact me, how are you doing, all that. In fact, one of them invited me to his wedding, which is abroad, but I couldn't go because of COVID-19. So that's something I do enjoy, training lawyers. I wouldn't mind actually teaching law, because I feel that a lot of people have said to me that I'm very good at explaining things and expressing difficult concepts, but in a simplified way. So that's something which I enjoy. Perhaps further down the line, when I put out to pasture, I might sort of decide to do.
For me, certainly, you're a dear friend, and you're always there for me, and you've helped me through some tough times. It has to be said, right, with stuff, right? Yeah. That's a fact, right? I've been very grateful for that, right? And you're a wonderful human being, which I would say, as a lawyer, I've met many, right? That saying about really listening and being listened to. This was another thing that I found, that you really are the real thing, and as a human being, you are very special with all of them skills. Let me thank you for coming on as a guest, for giving us your wonderful experience. Thank you very much. Thanks for tuning in, guys, to a wonderful new segment of The Big Shift with Stephen Gillen. Make sure to subscribe, go into stephengillen.com and sign up for more wonderful content to expedite, help, and support you on your own personal journey of success.